Yeah, hello, welcome. Thanks for coming out. My name's Jonathan Weakley, and I'm one of the account managers looking after our Finnish Tableau customers, Oshin as well. So if you may have spoken to either one of us at some point, or hopefully will be doing in the future. And really, I'm excited to be here to talk around what it is to become a data-driven organization. So as part of my role, it's one of the things that I enjoy talking about with my customers, because even when people start with Tableau, it doesn't necessarily mean that, they're well on the road to success straight away. It can sometimes, take a little bit of time and take a little bit of different thinking to actually get to where you need to be able to make those data-driven decisions. And Tableau is about enabling the process of creativity. And it's about doing that by allowing users to see and understand their data. And because of that, what I want to do today is actually start with a bit of an art project. So in a second, we're going to hand around bits of paper and pens, and I want you to turn to the person next to you, and both of you just draw a very quick portrait of each other, no longer than 60 seconds, and then we'll share it with one another, okay? So we're not actually going to do that, but when I was saying it, what sort of went through your mind? Were you maybe a little bit nervous about how you might insult the other person, whether you might draw them in a funny way, start to feel a little bit shy and think, I'd rather not do it. But why is that? Why is it that some of us have a real fear of, doing something that draws comments from the people around us, or puts us under pressure, or makes us think that we're going to be judged for our efforts? Does anyone here have young children at home? Yeah, a few hands. Okay. Because they wouldn't think twice about this, right? They would just dive straight in. They love expressing themselves. In fact, they probably would have drawn maybe 2 or 3 sketches in the same time it would have taken us to draw one eye. Because they don't care. They have the freedom to not be worried about the environment around us. And actually, they trust that both us and also everyone around them is, supporting their creative ideas. But how do we create that same trust within our workplace? Because as grown-ups, we've embarrassingly, we've become embarrassed to share our efforts. And as a result, we stifle our creativity because of that. And I see a direct correlation between asking you all here to sketch a portrait of your partner and asking a novice to jump right in and do some data analytics. Apprehension slows us down. And we think people are expecting beautiful pieces of work like this portrait here, straight away. Whereas kids don't care. But as adults, we double check, we triple check, we vet, we ask our colleagues for help, which slows them down as well. And more detrimental to this is actually our apprehension. It causes conservative thinking. We no longer think outside the box and try and, express new ideas. And we've all had those moments in a meeting room where we've suddenly come up with a crazy new idea, which in our own mind makes sense, but we think, I won't share it just in case. I think it might be too out of the box, or I might be judged for it. And we keep it to ourselves. Yet, insightful, creative, original visualizations, they are within our grasp still. We can get to them. So this piece here, for instance, by one of our Tableau customers, Pooja Gandhi, this shows actually the quite terrifying rise in global temperatures over the years. It's original, it's creative, it's nice to look at, but this piece of work didn't just appear overnight. It takes time, it takes iteration to arrive at something like this. So let's use this diagram to sort of break it down a little bit. So this is actually a diagram. It wasn't my 1-minute sketch of my colleague Oshin. And it sort of symbolizes the creative process that we go through when we start to do data analysis. So the start is fast, it's messy, it's unpredictable. We fail fast and we move on. It's around making, you start to make twists and turns following the data until you start to focus in on what it's actually telling you. And it's okay to build 10 charts and then just use one of them. At this point, it's not around the destination. The most important part is the journey of discovery. But sadly, as I've mentioned already, the opposite is the case within the workplace. Our day is broken into increments. We have to show that we're providing value. We have to, come out with status reports, and there needs to be continuous productivity. We can't have any wasted time. But history has shown us that people with great insights are also famous for shifting their perspectives on how they do things. They think, okay, well, what if I look at it this angle, or let me step outside the box and rearrange it. And so our mission at Tableau is to provide an environment that makes this easy. So it lets people explore their data without having to be great artists or data scientists. But at the same time, it allows the experts to cut through the current process, which can sometimes be quite painful. So if your current environment looks anything like this, whereby it starts off with a report email, and then after a pretty lengthy wait, you get a KPI dashboard that doesn't quite meet your needs or answer the questions that you were actually asking, then there's no room for creativity to actually change your business. Because the ability to interactively reshape your data and start to look at it in different ways can lead to insights that can literally change the world. So as an example of that, does anyone know who this man is? So he's a Russian chemist named Dmitry Mendeleev, and although you may not know his name or face, you definitely know his work. So Mendeleev started with a collection of data, and he looked at it this way, and then this way, then this way, that way, until finally he got to this piece. And this shows the power of changing perspectives, because the first table that I showed you was pretty meaningless. It was virtually useless. But this table is actually now one of the most important and impactful tables of data in scientific history. We can use this to understand rhythms of all matter, predict behavior of elements, and the existence of new ones. And so our best work with data is not just about slicing and dicing, calculating and deducing, but it's around, if we can start to chase hunches and we can start to shift our perspectives and use our intuition and improvise creatively, and not just stick to what is rigorous, then we start to get some serious answers. So, I like to think of our best working with data as a continuum. We have an observation and we have a question from that, and we get some answers. But then that leads to more questions, and so we get more answers, and it continues in that continuum until we get a key insight. And because when these key insights happen, thinking then shifts from a scribble of ideas to a more linear thought process. We start to hone in on something quite meaningful, and we think, okay, we found something here. And we think about format and structure of how other people can then leverage on the same idea and get use out of it. And so you start to get to the best articulation of your data at that time, which is great. And so here today, what I'm about to present is I want to share with you the perfect visualization. Okay, so feel free to take pictures. This is the perfect viz. So I'm sorry to disappoint, but actually, like a unicorn, the perfect visualization doesn't exist. The perfect dashboard doesn't exist. The perfect visualization is simply an articulation of your data at that moment in time and from one perspective. But you might be thinking, okay, so if we don't get a perfect viz, how are we going to become a data-driven organization? Well, there's still hope, but instead of chasing the unicorn, what we just need to do is build a culture of trust within the organization. The kind of trust that kids have. So what do I mean by this? Well, there's two parts to the answer. Firstly, the first part of trust is cultural. So we firstly need to embrace the idea that the perfect viz doesn't exist. There's no point, trying to work a way to get there. And it's a myth, and that we should embrace the possibility that there's going to be multiple different perspectives from different people. And great dashboards should inspire more questions. So don't receive a dashboard and think about what the dashboard is telling you. That's interesting, of course, but if you can then start to think, well, what is this dashboard not telling me? Then you're on the road to real insights, and you'll really start to get some cool answers out of your business. So an example of a non-existent perfect dashboard is one of our Tableau Zen masters. I think we have around 20 of them around the world. Andy Kriebel. He started a new project called Makeover Monday, where every week he would post up to our Tableau community a interesting subset of data, and he would ask our community to represent it in whichever way they thought would work best. And they had to do it in 60 minutes or less. And so here's a small portion of the outset of that. So you'll see Pooja Gandhi's also got some work on here again. But what's interesting is all of this is based on the exact same data set. And it's a data set on women's rights by country. So from David Pyer with a topical approach, to Naya Lusa, who looked at it with a geospatial perspective, this is proof that a perfect dashboard doesn't exist. There are several different ways that we can look at our data. And if we can open up our mind to that and just keep looking until we get different answers, then we're gonna, really be on the right way. Because traditional analysis tools can sometimes stifle you to look at and analyze your data in rows and columns and, choose a subset of your data first and organize that data in a table before you then make a chart. Whereas Tableau skips those steps. It creates visual representations straight away. And at the heart of this is VizQL, which is our patented technology used to express visualizations instead of templates. So you don't have to pre-select how you want to view your data first. You can just interact with it and automatically create a viz. And this means that you have limitless numbers and limitless ways to express yourself and express your data. Now, the second part of trusting organizations is technical. So trusting organizations firstly have to empower their employees and empower individuals with being able to do their analysis and ask their questions and be creative, but there need to be safeguards. There need to be safeguards behind this. So your employees can then be creative without the worry of burning down the ship. So think versioning, think access controls, think published data sources. All of these things make a culture of self-service analytics truly possible. And with an environment built on trust, it's okay to then diverge back into the iterative world of scribbles again. It's great dashboards, they inspire deeper thinking, they inspire more questions, and going back and then starting the reigniting, I should say, the creative process again is perfect. You know, that's where you then move on to the next level. So don't be afraid of doing that and thinking, well, the work we've got right now is great, but let's play with it again and see what else we can get to. And at Tableau, we believe that creative process and the creative thinking is a mixture of scribbles and lines. You know, this should be continuous. You get another line after this and then more scribbles. And our products inspire creativity in its rawest form, allowing people to ask those questions, as well as providing an infrastructure to share and collaborate with other people in a safe environment. And so with that, I want to thank you, and I will hand over to Karoli and his team, who are going to do a demonstration for you. Thank you very much.